Good evening, Cedar Falls, and welcome to our regular City Council meeting for Monday, June 7th, 2021. I'll now call this meeting to order with a roll call from Madam Clerk.
Miller.
Here.
DeBoer.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Harding.
Here.
Dara.
Here.
Sires.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
All members present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of May 17th?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, do we have any agenda revisions tonight?
I have no agenda revisions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. First item that we have is a public forum where speakers have an opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes on topics germane to city business. Does anyone from the public wish to speak tonight in public forum? Yes, Ms. Beach. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Good evening, Rosemary Beach. I'm at Western Home Communities, and it's so nice to see people's faces. Isn't it great? Anyway, what I've come to ask is, at your last Currents magazine, it had an article that said radar trailer, and it said if we request one for a area, we may get it, and therefore find out how fast people are really traveling. And I was here, I think, a month ago and asked for people to look into the fact that from Washington Street to the middle of the bridge on First Street going east is a place that there's much too heavy traffic with it's going 40 miles an hour starting at Washington Street and going to the middle of the bridge. Now, they aren't supposed to. They're supposed to be 40 miles per hour at the middle of the bridge. Well, if you think they aren't starting back at Washington Street, you aren't really paying attention. You aren't sitting at Cup of Joe and watching those trucks go through there that are already wound up, and they're going to be going 40 miles an hour the minute they hit that sign. So I'm requesting the radar trailer, and I'm requesting it on First Street. I think it is the most traveled place for kids, adults, every kind of happening in that one square in our town than about any place else. If you look at the amount of traffic and the places there are to go, and when you get a water thing going besides, you have a corner that has multiple people on that corner all the time. And I think it is a corner that we need. I realize that seemingly Iowa DOT put that 40 miles an hour. You must go 40 miles an hour in the middle of the bridge up to, well, it doesn't change. You have to go clear to the airport if you want to turn around and come back. There's no way to turn around. Anyway, I think that people are misusing that corner, and I think they're taking advantages of the businesses on Main Street. You can't turn because you're going 40 miles an hour. And so therefore, you really don't know. You've passed up your town before you even been there. And I would request that we put a trailer up there and monitor it and see how fast people are really going as they cross that cross spot. And I'd also even add to that that they put one of the audio things on so they know how loud those trucks are. So, and I would like to have somebody report it after the fact, because normally, quite often when you ask for something, you don't get feedback, so you don't know if anybody cared. So I'm requesting the trailer, I'm requesting a report, and I'm requesting that you go down and start at that stop sign and run yourself up to the middle of the bridge at that area that's not supposed to be 40 miles an hour, but I'll guarantee you, if you sit down there, you'll know that's what they're traveling. Anyway, I appreciate the fact that you're going to go out and travel that and see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. And for Chief Birdie, that's something we can accommodate with the trailer, correct? But does it have recording capability? So tracking, you'd have to have someone out there recording all the numbers, and so we can accommodate at least part of your request, Rosemary.
Well, there's an audio thing.
Mr. Mayor,
Where's that coming from?
Oh, right.
Director Olson.
Yeah, we can put the radar trailer out there, and the goal of that trailer typically is to make traffic aware of their speeds and to slow them down. But Public Works or engineering has the ability to put some, I'm going to call them plate-sized devices on the ground that measures the speed. So we can accomplish both. But
Okay.
We'll
Excellent,
work
thank you.
together between departments to get that done.
Thank you, Director Olson. Anyone else wish to speak from the gallery in public forum? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Andrea Geary, Cedar Falls.
Hi, Ms. Geary.
I'm here tonight to speak about the Juneteenth proclamation on tonight's agenda. It was disturbing to learn the city planned to make an official proclamation recognizing Juneteenth. Disturbing to see the level of entitlement an all-white team felt in co-opting the celebration of Black freedom, when as an institution it has done little to advance equality for Black people or any other group of historically oppressed people for that matter. I was particularly dismayed to read the responses of several city elected officials to the Waterloo Cedar Falls Black Lives Matter letter. There were racially charged undertones and a patronizing energy one would hope the city could honestly boast we had left behind a lifetime ago. I have lived in Cedar Falls for 14 years and lived in the Cedar Valley for most of my life. Over time, many have come before the city begging, pleading, arguing, and demanding the city take measurable steps and meaningful action resulting in greater equal rights. Parents, scholars, high school students, activists, even a handful of city council members. Council member sires, hi, nodding off there. At every turn, requests are stalled, obstructed, or outrightly denied. I read the newspapers, I attend meetings, I talk to all kinds of different people throughout the community about their experiences, and I'm engaged. It doesn't take too long to sort out that either the city is completely functionally incompetent in its ability to address racial equality in a meaningful way, or perhaps they simply do not care to. In the past year alone, the city has stripped the Human Rights Commission of its investigatory powers, turned it into an impotent laughingstock in the media. The planning and zoning visioning exercise was rushed through without meaningful engagement of BIPOC communities or even nary a mention of potential racial impact, a body of work intended to inform the city's development for a few decades into the future. And the recently formed Racial Equity Task Force, still sorting out their charge and process, seems doomed to make it out of the starting gate. The city's Juneteenth proclamation is not only putting the cart before the horse, so to speak, but it's insulting to those whose lives are put in harm's way each and every day at the hands of the institutions that have held them down, the very institutions which, in theory, are tasked with providing them a safe and healthy environment to live. Should the city choose to partake in celebrating the true freedom of Black Americans, they first need to do the hard work of dismantling the systems of white supremacy which prevent real equality. Until then, such proclamations will continue to be viewed as empty, performative, and as a sign the city either has no real engagement with the Black community or no interest in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geary. Anyone else wish to speak for public forum tonight? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Sam Blatt on Searly. I would just like to follow
And
up.
address, please.
806 Searly.
Thank you.
And I would like to just say that I would follow up with that and say, you know, Juneteenth was the first year. Cedar Falls celebrated it last year in 2020. And, you know, I want to see equity continue here in Cedar Falls. I was sad to see the the Equity Task Force also dismantled. So I just think that, you know, we can collectively do better and try to raise more equity. I mean, like, look at all the people in the room right now, majority white, and we need to just make some changes here.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Anyone else to speak for public forum from the gallery or from Zoom?
Yes, Max Tenson.
So Max Tenson, just address for the record, please, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir, just fine.
Excellent. So I live at 1318 West 5th Street, Cedar Falls. So like I said, my name is Max Tenson. I use he, him pronouns. I am a fifth-year mathematics teaching major, originally from Des Moines, Iowa, but as this is my 5th year at the University of Northern Iowa, I've been around for a little bit. So in my 4 to 5 years here, I've seen my friends of color, you know, I've seen slurs hurled at them. I've seen them stopped and harassed both by University of Northern Iowa police and Cedar Falls police. And so in my time in Cedar Falls, I've seen the systems of white supremacy upheld. I've seen Cedar Falls be complicit in white supremacy. So when we come to a day like this where we're deciding on whether we should proclaim, June 19th, Juneteenth, Freedom Day, to me it feels completely wrong and disingenuous because we are not, advocates or accomplices to Black liberation. We are instead complicit in upholding white supremacy. So until, we're following the demands of the Waterloo Cedar Falls Black Lives Matter org, talking about and officially recognizing that Cedar Falls has a racist history as a sundown town, providing reparations, among other things, decriminalizing marijuana and defunding the Cedar Falls Police Department and reinvesting into our community. I don't think we have any right or privilege to celebrate Juneteenth. That's really all I got to say. Thank you so much, and I really hope that you vote no and reconsider this completely. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Tenson.
Clifton Jens?
So, Mr. Jens, the floor is yours, sir, for 5 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, just fine.
Okay, Clifton Jeans of 217 Butler Avenue, Waterloo, Iowa. Black Lives Matter addresses the performative nature of co-opting Juneteenth with the following. Meaningful work the city must do before co-opting the Black holiday of Juneteenth would include, at the bare minimum, 1, an official proclamation acknowledging Cedar Falls past as a sundown town and the role it continues to play in maintaining white supremacy. 2, reparations for past harm. 3, decriminalize the recreational use of marijuana. 4, defund the police and invest in supportive community services. As a sundown town, this is more persistently white than most of the state of Iowa and openly hostile to Black, Indigenous people of color. We see no point in attempting to co-opt Juneteenth without doing any meaningful work to materially increase the quality of life for Black people in this city. We have a lot of work to do before we start celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And finally, Jim Skane.
Good evening, Mr. Skane.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Skane. Go ahead,
Hello?
sir. We can hear you just fine.
Yes, I have many concerns. This agenda that you're about to work on is 5 pages long. It has 45 items in the agenda, and most of those are controlled by the consent and resolution agendas, which require that people have to deliberately decide to talk about it, or the agenda item is approved without debate and without discussion. And that, Mr. Mayor, does not comport with your decision to have Robert's version 12 control, because Robert's version 12 says that each agenda item should be decided separately, and not only that, but each agenda item should have the actual wording of the motion to be discussed. We don't even have the first part of that, and I would respectfully request that the version 12 that you and the council approved be utilized for future agenda. But in this particular case, there will be items that should be separately discussed. And when the time comes, I will enumerate those particular items that I think need to be discussed separately. But this is discouraging that the agenda is not developed by you, but is developed by the city administrator. And actually, the city administrator has developed the agenda since 2014, when Ordinance 2824 was adopted. And it was reinforced when the council adopted 2988 in the last council meeting. So much work to be done, but I always appreciate the opportunity to voice my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Skane. Anyone else from Zoom wishing to speak?
No one else.
Okay, thank you. And anyone else from the gallery tonight? Yes, sir. TJ Frine. Name and address for the record, please.
TJ Frine, 1319 Austin Way. I'm really just glad I'm not messing around with a mask trying to talk again anymore. We're all super proud of living in Cedar Falls. I know you guys are up here making decisions on what's best, and you're doing a heck of a job. We're in a good spot. You look at all the development in the south, you look at Viking Road, all that is because investors and developers are coming in. I'm proud to live here. I know you guys are all proud to live here and proud to serve your communities too. So keep your heads up, and everybody's doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Anyone else from the gallery wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, then I will close the public forum and bring us to special presentations. And I will, before going to our recognized proclamations, would like to make a quick note to recognize Frank Dara as Cedar Falls' representative citizen for 2021. So he received that award from his now his peers, the representative citizens, in a meeting this past spring, and was recognized at the Business and Industry Award. So congratulations, Frank, well deserved.
I've prepared a short 30-minute speech. So.
It'll take me that long to get around. Not you. You got your stuff. So I do have two proclamations tonight. The first is for Bird Friendly City Week. So I understand Lorraine Wellnitz is going to come forward as our recipient for this. This was a major designation. We had a few pictures taken earlier tonight, and this was a great activity from particularly the North Cedar Neighborhood Association with Bird Friendly Iowa. And so also I'd like to have Tom Schelke come forward. Is there anyone else that we should have forward as well?
Sure, and actually there's two separate things.
Okay.
Maybe it wasn't clear that this is the official proclamation for the city of Cedar Falls to become the 9th bird-friendly city recognized. So that's quite an honor, and we have an official.
Oh, okay. Well, come on up, please.
It's a little different than the proclamation.
Are you reading that?
I'm reading this one.
You read that.
For Words in the City. Okay. All right. So, Bird Friendly City Week, June 13th through 19th, 2021. Whereas Cedar Falls has many parks, lakes, continuous forests, and walking and bike trails hospitable to birds. And whereas Cedar Falls is home to the Hartman Reserve Nature Center, Blackhawk County Park, Big Woods Lake, Prairie Lake Park, University of Northern Iowa, the North Cedar Natural Resource Project, the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, Darrell Smith Prairie, the Dry Run Creek Initiative, and many citizens' front and backyards with native pollinators. And whereas, through the hard work of dedicated local ornithophiles, Cedar Falls was in 2020 designated as an official bird-friendly city for the first time by Bird Friendly Iowa. And whereas it is proper and fitting that Cedar Falls residents be encouraged to promote healthy habitats and bird populations, particularly for the most at-risk birds, because a healthy bird population is closely connected to a healthy world environment. Now therefore, I, Robert M. Green, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim the week of June 13th through 19th, 2021 as Bird Friendly City Week in Cedar Falls, and encourage residents to celebrate and promote our avian friends through efforts to expand habitats, visiting our area's natural resource sites, and choosing small ways to make our community more bird friendly. Signed this third day of June 2021. Mayor Robert M. Green.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. I got to work on my mayor handshake there. See? Wonderful. So this is yours, ma'am.
All right. We're
And-
proud to have that happen.
Excellent. And we're proud to be recognized. Thank you. So what's happening here?
Well, just to tell you a little bit more about statewide what's happening and to recognize the significance of what you're doing this year. This will help you become recertified. And yes, the community was recognized as a bird-friendly Iowa community last year, but we're here officially to be here in person. I'm one of 3 of the steering committee members here, and why don't you guys come up, and then the local group come up too. So for a little history, the Bird Friendly Iowa program was created in 2015 and first announced in 2017. Before presenting the award here, here's a little background. The goal was to designate any city or town that might meet the requirements designated as Bird Friendly Iowa community. To date, the cities Waterloo, Pleasant Hill, Denver, Ames, Madrid, Fayette, Marion, and Turpola have been officially designated. In 2019, we expanded the project scope to recognize qualifying counties with a new designation of bird-friendly county. Dan Cohen from Buchanan County Conservation and a subcommittee designated requirements for this new recognition. While bird-friendly cities are named in a few other states, due to Iowa's nationally unique system of county conservation programs, we're now the only state that designates bird-friendly counties. So the counties so far are Story, Polk, Winneshiek, Boone, and Palo Alto counties. They're the first 5 officially designated. So today, on behalf of the Bird Friendly Iowa Steering Committee, we're most pleased to officially recognize Cedar Falls as the next city to be officially designated. So you were designated in 2020, and with this, some of this ceremony tonight, this will help in your recertification for 2021. We're honored to present this designation to you with the frame certificate, which I think is right here. And then in addition, the special logo flag to be flown or displayed wherever you would like. And then also the 2 Bird Friendly Iowa signs that can be placed here at City Hall, at the parks, along roadways, wherever you choose to display them. And so in just conclusion, we want you to recognize that how critical it is these days for everyone to practice and improve conservation and education for helping save our continent's bird population. Research back in 2019 revealed that North America's birds have decreased by nearly 30% since 1970. Many of Iowa's birds are in steep decline, so it's particularly important for us to recognize both communities and counties that understand how helping birds can help save our environment. So for Cedar Falls application has designated very practical, valuable bird conservation, and we give a special thanks to Lorraine Witznitz, who has helped move this project forward and also support the North Cedar Neighborhood Association. So our sincerest congratulations to Cedar Falls and receiving this conservation award.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'll wear it proudly. So for our second proclamation tonight, I do have a Juneteenth proclamation. LaTanya Graves will be joining me up at the dais here, dais. Just as a note, I understand there was controversy about that this year to issue a proclamation. I did the same last year. I believe it was the first time that the proclamation was issued. I believe that it's very important to recognize Juneteenth as the day of freedom, of practical freedom for African Americans in America. It's a national holiday, it's a state holiday, and I believe it should be a city recognized commemoration day as well. So very thankful. I appreciate that we have tons of work to do, but it's small steps and big steps. I know there's a lot of work to do. Our city council knows there's a lot to do. I'm very eager to see the results of the Racial Equity Task Force and that we have movement going forward. It's been brought up about the idea of sundown towns, which I'd never heard of until about maybe 2-3 years ago. That concept of which we found in Cedar Falls being the case, that there were parts, at least some parts of Cedar Falls, perhaps a large swath of Cedar Falls, perhaps all of Cedar Falls. That's what the Racial Equity Task Force is going to help us find out, is to see with our abstracts where it said black people were not allowed to purchase property in Cedar Falls. We recognize that. We are working to move beyond that and to deal with the trauma that resulted in the black community, both in our city and also in Waterloo as well. So I realize there's anger, there's a sense that we're not doing enough, but I just want to let you know that we are committed to change. So with that, Juneteenth Freedom Day, June 19th, 2021. Whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation declaring all enslaved people in the Confederacy shall be thenceforth and forever free. And whereas on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, deep in the former Confederacy, to proclaim the end of slavery to the enslaved people of that region. And whereas June 19th is celebrated as Juneteenth National Freedom Day each year by descendants of more than 4 million enslaved people to commemorate the end of American slavery. And whereas after 250 years of institutionalized slavery, descendants of these enslaved people have faced oppression through segregation, redlining, racial profiling, and other injustices. And whereas healing and reconciliation from the trauma of slavery and its repercussions can only occur through open, frank dialogue and a recognition of the dangers and damages caused by continued racism, both overt and subtle. And whereas the state of Iowa recognizes Juneteenth as an official state holiday, and whereas the Cedar Valley is home to a richly diverse community committed to the health, safety, and well-being of every one of its members, we, the citizens of Cedar Falls, stand in solidarity with those pursuing equality, inclusion, and justice in their homes, workplaces, and communities in our region, across our state and nation, and around the world. And whereas Juneteenth offers residents of Cedar Falls an opportunity to reflect and act on our individual and community responsibility to ensure justice for every member of society. Now, therefore, I, Robert M. Green, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2021 as Juneteenth in Cedar Falls, and encourage residents to celebrate the end of American slavery, to work to end continued inequalities and discrimination, and to actively participate in Juneteenth commemoration events, both physical and virtual, in Black Hawk County and beyond. Signed this 3rd day of June, 2021, Mayor Robert M. Green. So this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Green.
And if you have a few words for us, we'd love to hear.
So this is our 26th annual Juneteenth celebration, and I do know that they're very passionate about the work they do. And so what I'm asking is that each of you attend the Juneteenth celebration. It's going to be Saturday, June 19th at Gates Park, located on East 4th and Leicester Street. And we have games and activities and food vendors and entertainment. And Felicia Smith-Knowles, she's going to be performing. That's in collaboration with Gallagher Bluedorn and the Gates Park Neighborhood Association. So we're intending to have a great time, and I'm inviting everyone. I actually passed out all of my flyers at the Waterloo City Council meeting. That's why I don't have any for you tonight. However, I'm inviting everyone because it is a celebration, and again, we've been celebrating for 26 years. Some people say it's really 25 because we didn't get to celebrate last year, but it's still our 26th annual Juneteenth celebration. And again, you're welcome. And like I said, I know they're passionate about the work they do, and I'm passionate about the work I do. And I'm the president of the Black Hawk County chapter NAACP, and our mission is to fight for the rights of all people. And everybody that knows me knows that's what I do. So again, I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graves, and I've enjoyed working with you this past year. Moving on to our special order of business, the first, item 4, is a public hearing on a proposal to undertake a public improvement project for the Ashworth Drive Extension Project and to authorize acquisition of private property for said project. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So do we have any written communications filed, Madam Clerk?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
And for staff comments tonight, we have Matthew Tolan. So, Mr. Tolan, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight's first public hearing is for the Ashworth Drive roadway extension project. The city of Cedar Falls is planning to extend Ashworth Drive from Prairie Winds 4th Edition to Hudson Road. The project will include placement of water main, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and pavement to connect to the adjacent subdivision and eventually Aldrich Elementary in the future. The proposed plan for the constructed street shows a need for a permanent acquisition of the driveway easement at 4923 Hudson Road and a permanent acquisition from the property at 4919 Hudson Road. Thank you.
So I'll now open it for public comments. If anyone has any, I'd like to come forward, just name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Lisa Johnson, and I live at 4923 Hudson Road. The property is adjacent to the property under consideration for the purchase. So our house is adjacent to where the purchase is considered. We come before you tonight with two primary perspectives for you to consider and ask for you to vote against the current proposal. The first perspective is as the primary homeowners impacted by this proposal. Our property runs the complete length of the road connection proposed, and our house sits very close to the northern portion of our property. The current plans for the location of the road are extremely close to our house, much closer than neighboring houses are in relation to the roads that they live on. We did not choose to build or buy a house that close to a road. It is being forced upon us. This presents many safety risks for us and our young children. As the road would be a primary access point for Aldrich Elementary and the Prairie Winds and Prairie West subdivisions, the amount of traffic on this road will be significant. All of our bedrooms face that proposed road, and having all of that traffic within 30 to 40 feet of our bedroom windows will create an unacceptable amount of noise. There are alternatives that should be considered to move the road further to the north, which would move it further from our house and create a larger area to keep us safer and with lower noise disruption. When the Prairie Winds and Prairie West subdivisions were presented to the council 8 years ago, the city planner specifically stated that a connection was not needed to Hudson Road through this property, even though a school was likely to be built in the future. Why are we now being told a different story? The second perspective we bring to you is on behalf of city taxpayers. Our understanding is that taxpayers are not only paying for the purchase of only a portion of the adjacent property, but also for the demolition of structures and land to the north of the purchased area, and for all the infrastructure like sewer, water, and electrical stub-outs to be installed for 5 or 6 lots to the north of the road that are not part of this purchase. The land to the north of the purchased road is currently 1 lot and zoned agricultural, so providing 5 to 6 stub-outs is a costly assumption that it will receive approval to be rezoned into residential lots. Housing developers are normally responsible for these costs, but in this case, city taxpayers are being asked to foot the bill. This is not a fiscally responsible way to conduct city business at the taxpayer's expense. We respectfully ask that the current proposal be rejected, as it does not provide an acceptable safe distance between the road and our house, and will end up costing the city taxpayers much more than is currently being communicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Anyone else wish to speak for public comment? Please come forward, Mr. Frine.
TJ Frine, 1319 Austin Way. I just wondered if there was an answer. That picture that was up shows the road coming out to Hudson Road. What's that going to do to that intersection? I know that Green Hill Village, where I live, is also connected. Ashworth runs right through our neighborhood as well. And right now it's just a stop sign there for incoming or outgoing traffic from the neighborhood onto Hudson Road. If we start creating considerable amount additional traffic, there's going to have to be something done there. I just wondered if there was a plan already in place. Thanks.
Are you referring to like a signalized intersection or something?
Anything, any kind of plan would be nice to know if that intersection is going to be completely open in and out of 2 different neighborhoods. At that point, it would be just to the east of that image up there, I believe, if I'm looking at north being up, just to the intersection. Ashworth runs from end to end all the way out to Green Hill Road there. So any input would help. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Frine. Mr. Tolan, are we able to speak to that, or for Mr. Schrock?
I could probably address that, Mr. Mayor. So the intersection of Ashworth Drive east of Hudson Road is actually a short boulevard section that goes into Green Hill Village that Mr. Frine was referencing. That intersection will have to be reconfigured, and that boulevard area would actually go away, and you'd see that as the plans develop and the plans come before council at a later date. But we're currently in the process. I know engineering's working with a consultant and their own staff to study the area and get projected volumes to see if it would meet signal warrants in the near future, and we would need to address those at the time that they're warranted.
Thank you, Director Shaggy. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Dave Nickel, and my wife and I own 4919 Hudson Road, which is the place where they're going to take control of. We have been negotiating with the city for more than several months, and we came to an agreement that we would give 1 acre and our house at a special price with the city, and it would extend Ashworth Drive roadway extension to the Hudson Road. This is a very much needed exit for the Prairie Winds 4 addition. The city has our 100% support for this. We are the sole owners of the property and needed for this project, and the Johnsons only have a little bit of an easement that's the part of their involvement. The project will provide a direct access to the new school, and which should help the public safety.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak from the gallery or from Zoom?
Jim Skane.
Mr. Skane, the floor is yours, sir. 5 minutes.
Yes, I've been listening to the discussion, and one thing has been missing, and that is how much it's going to cost in total. People have indicated something about that, but they haven't indicated anything about cost or what funds will be used to produce this outcome. So if the cost is available, it should be made known.
Thank you, Mr. Skane.
Thank you.
So for that, seeing that it's authorizing acquisition of private property for the project, do we have anything for dollar figures, or is there anything that we want to comment on from Mr. Skanes?
So maybe I'll outline a little bit of the process of authorizing projects and acquisition of property. So what's on the agenda tonight is the approval to move forward with the public improvement project and requesting acquisition of the private property. After tonight, staff will work with appraisers to appraise the property and work with the property owners to come to terms in regards to the cost and the fair market value. At a later date, the council would see any easement agreements or purchase agreements that would have the cost in those as well.
Okay.
So at this time, I do not have that cost.
Okay, terrific. Any other speakers on Zoom or commenters from the gallery? Seeing no more, then I will consider the public hearing closed and move us into Part E, which is a resolution approving a public improvement project for the Ashworth Drive Extension Project and authorizing acquisition of private property for said project. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded, open for council discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember Harding.
Can you put the picture back up real quick? And my question would be, how close is the road going to be to the house, and are there any options to push it further away? So what's the distance there?
Sure, it's kind of hard to see. It is actually on that drawing if we were able to zoom in, but the placement of the current configuration was intended to have the least impact to all property owners, adjacent property owners. The current distance between the house and what would be the right-of-way line would be approximately 30 feet. From the house to the roadway would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 44, 45 feet. And just to give you a little bit of perspective on new developments, and Karen or Stephanie could speak to this, is general setback in R1 or R2, depending on what it is 25 to 30 feet. So most of the newer homes are 30 feet from the property line.
That was going to be my next question.
And just to follow up, is that design configuration still very fluid based on what's purchased, or?
Sure. Right now, the proposal is shown as a 60-foot right-of-way, which is standard right-of-way purchase to install our 31-foot street. So when we're working on the final designs, sometimes we can move the street or the sidewalk, within tolerances to make it work.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Sires.
I have a problem with the fair market value of that property. When a property is being taken from a citizen who doesn't want to sell, that's a whole different ballgame. I don't think it's right for someone like the Johnsons to give up their property when it should have been the developer who maybe changed his design on the original plat and came through, because not too far to the south there's actually a cul-de-sac where they could have come out and made it onto Hudson Road, even though it would have had to been changed. The other problem I have is this access onto Hudson Road doesn't actually get back to the school. What we truly need is we need a street that comes straight north from the school and then bends out around and comes into Green Hill Road. That would alleviate the traffic. This road will put it into small streets all the way to the school and never take any extra traffic off of Eric Road. It's not really what we had been promised at the very first goal setting I'd ever attended, when all of us were in agreement that we needed a road to go to that school. Now, that Aldrich School will be there for 100 years. So now's the time to push a street straight north from that school and bend it around and come into Green Hill Road. And this small street and putting the Johnsons out, I don't like using eminent domain, because that's what this would be if they couldn't come up to a price that was fair to them. Because when you start to live on a property and love that property, Fair market value really doesn't enter into that. I know we need to get some streets to that school because that's one of my top priorities, but that street should come straight north. Even if we had 2 lanes where they have the boulevard there, if you had 2 lanes going in, that would help. But this isn't actually going to take any pressure off of Eric Road, and Eric Road is the one that has the most problems. So I have a lot of issues with this. I would like to see that the Johnsons get fair money. I wouldn't call it fair market, but for their troubles, it should be extra, and I think that should go towards the developer. And I think that road from that school should go straight north, and it should go in now because actually there's nothing straight north of Aldrich School. So I don't know. That's how I feel. It's just not an adequate road to that school when we're having so much trouble in that area. That's all.
Other questions or comments? Discussion? Okay, seeing none. Yes, Councilor Harding.
I'm assuming, well, not assuming, I know that we've looked at a lot of other options, right? So can we get maybe a recap of how we came to the conclusion of this option? Is that possible from staff? Why we chose this road?
Sure.
To do this. Does that make sense?
Sure.
As opposed to going straight north or going another direction or coming in, and then also an answer as to whether we truly believe this is going to alleviate traffic from Eric Road. I know this has been an issue for the community, and we're trying our best to solve it, so maybe some information.
Sure. So if you recall, I guess we go back to when the elementary school was built, and then on this previous goal setting, you recall what I'm going to call 3 critical connection points that were discussed. This was one of them, a section of roadway directly west of this that will get you to the elementary, and then what Mr. Sires referred to as the north-south stretch, the extension of Arbors Drive that would get you up to Green Hill Road. Those 2 are kind of different circumstances than what we're discussing tonight, and we're working through those. As far as this alignment and design, obviously the roadway directly west of this development was stubbed out and dead-ended specifically for the extension in the future. And like I said before, the kind of alignment was set to disrupt the adjacent property owners as least as possible.
Other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, then this has been motioned and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
Cruz votes aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looking at item 5 is a public hearing on a proposed plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the West 27th Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So move.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then moving on, do we have any written communications filed with City Clerk?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For staff comments again, we have Mr. Tolan, so the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight's second public hearing is for the West 27th Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. This project consists of 1,600 linear feet of sanitary sewer placement to extend sanitary sewer service prior to the West 27th Street reconstruction project. The proposed sewer extension will serve the proposed Cedar Falls High School site, and with future residential development north of 27th and east of Union Road. The total estimated cost for construction of this project is $281,396. The city will use sanitary sewer rental funds until the sanitary sewer district is established at the end of the project.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone in the gallery who wishes to speak for public comment? Seeing none, then do we have anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak?
Nothing on Zoom.
Yeah, nothing on Zoom. So I'll consider the public hearing closed. Then move us over to Part E, which is a resolution approving and adopting the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the West 27th Street Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Open for council discussion, if any. Seeing none, then this requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 6 is a public hearing on the proposed plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Oak Park Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Then, moving on, do we have any written communications filed? Madam
I have
Clerk?
no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. For staff comments, we have Mr. Tolan. The floor is yours again, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight's last public hearing is for the Oak Park Sanitary Sewer Project. This project consists of 800 linear feet of sanitary sewer removal and replacement. The project also includes the abandonment and removal of the previously failed aerial sanitary line that previously collapsed. The total estimated cost for the construction of this project is $545,000. The city will use sanitary sewer rental funds for the construction of this project.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any public who wish to speak tonight on this item? Seeing none in the gallery and on Zoom?
Nothing in Zoom?
Okay, so I'll consider that public hearing closed and bring us to Part E, which is a resolution approving and adopting the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Oak Park Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any council discussion on this? Seeing none, then it's been motion and seconded. It requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Under old business, we have item 7, which is passing ordinance 2989, amending section 26118 of the Code of Ordinances by removing certain property located west of Cedar Heights Drive and north of Huntington Road from the A1 Agricultural District and R1 Residential Zoning District and placing the same in the MU Mixed-Use Residential Zoning District upon its second consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Been motion and seconded. Any council discussion on this item? Seeing none, anyone from the public? Okay, then it's been motion and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 8 is passing ordinance 2990, amending Chapter 2 Administration of the Code of Ordinances relative to boards and commissions upon its second consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Any council discussion tonight? Seeing none, anyone from the public? Yeah, Mr. Skeen, name and address for the record, please, sir.
Yes, Jim Skane, 2215 Clay Street. I was really concerned as to what this particular ordinance does as far as amending the Chapter 2 administration of the Code of Ordinance. Could someone explain that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. For Mr. Rogers, would you care to just give a 30-second infomercial on that one?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. What the ordinance does is it makes it clear that reappointment to boards and commissions are at the discretion of mayor and council.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else, or does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes, Councilor DeBoer?
Just a question. If a person at the end of their term is not going to be reappointed and it doesn't have to have a cause, are they given an explanation as to why they're not being reappointed for another term?
One traditionally has not been required. Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, then it's been motioned and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
6 voting aye, 1 voting nay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So 9 is passing ordinance 2991, amending Chapter 23, Traffic and Motor Vehicles of the Code of Ordinances relative to prohibiting parking on portions of Algonquin and Ashworth Drives upon its second consideration. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
The motion and seconded. Any comments from the public? Questions? Yes, TJ Fryan. Come on forward, sir.
Last time, I promise. The temporary signs that were put up there, they did a great job, except for they're just non-existent anymore. It gets windy out there, and I think the wind has probably eaten all of them, except for I think I saw one today walking by for the entire intersection. The parking lot is, it's been poured, the additional parking for the park there. So I anticipate that'll probably be another couple of weeks, and there'll be 12 or 13 more spots there. So I would hope and ask that instead of making this the second consideration, I would hope and ask that we do the second and third considerations tonight and put this thing to bed. The parking lot, or the park, has been extremely packed with people. It's been nice out, almost too hot for me to be at the park. But nonetheless, we're just starting the summer. The kids are out of school. For safety reasons, I would just ask that this be passed final tonight, and then we just hopefully we look at some point that intersection as a whole, in addition to parking. I guess I'm going to shoot for the moon here, and just ask, because Ashworth is open from Green Hill all the way to Hudson without any traffic controls, with the busy park. I know what parking is getting addressed, or hopefully being addressed tonight. But that intersection there, just hope at some point that it gets handled with some kind of controls with the park, the foot traffic, the fact that Ashworth is pretty much a drag strip end to end from Hudson Road to Green Hill. Maybe just be worth something looking at. Traffic, they did a study there years ago, and it said that no controls were necessary, or as a four-way stop anyhow. There are stop signs there, but it might be worth something looking at now that the neighborhood is far more developed than it was probably when that study was done. So, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Prine. If we did do a second and third consideration tonight, for, I guess, Director Schrage, would that change anything for plans, or allow us to put signs up earlier or something like that?
Yeah, so right now there's temporary signs out there. We can revisit that and put some new ones out there. But if it were to pass tonight, the third reading, then we could make the permanent signs and put the permanent ones out there now. But as far as construction, it won't affect any of the construction we're doing.
Okay, so it would save us, what, like 2 weeks of time to put signs up? Is that right? So just as a consideration. So any other discussion for this, or desire to amend or motion anything special?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay,
That was
so
the third reading.
motion to suspend and do a third reading tonight. Is there a second?
I second that.
The motion and seconded. So we'll, any further discussion on that? All right. So we'll vote with a voice vote for
No.
this.
Yeah, this will be a roll
Or-
call.
A roll call, right. So it's been motioned and seconded to suspend the rules, and this suspension requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so that is a vote to suspend the rules, and now that takes us to the final vote. Any further discussion on that? So now we're voting on the item itself.
Do you need a motion and a second?
We have one.
We already have the motion, so if no further discussion, then this will be to amend Chapter 23 relative to prohibiting parking on portions of Algonquin and Ashworth Drives, approved on its second and third consideration tonight. So this requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that does go into effect immediately. And takes us over to new business. Under the consent calendar, the following items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Does anyone from council wish to pull an item 10 through 18? Seeing none. Does anyone from the public wish to pull an item 10 through 18?
We have two in Zoom.
Okay.
Jim Skane?
Yes, Mr. Skeen, which item would you like to pull tonight, from 10 to 18?
Yes, I would like to pull 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Mr. Mayor, we've been down this road before. Do you need a motion of some sort to not allow this, or point of order? What do we want to call this?
Yeah, I think this falls to mayor discretion. We've talked in the past about pulling every single item just on principle. I'm very leery, and I wouldn't support limiting the number of items that a public member could request to pull if they had particular concerns about each one. Mr. Skane has shown that he doesn't have particular concerns about each one, but in the past he's sought to pull every item on the principle of wanting to have every item discussed separately. It is very clear in Robert's Rules of Order that the consent calendar may be used to pull or to vote on items together which are non-controversial or have been considered previously. So we've done that through the council packet. If council has no concerns about it, if the public has no concerns about the particular items, I'd rule that request out of order. So with that, we have another request?
We do have one more. Craig Fairbanks?
Yes, Mr. Fairbanks, which items would you like to pull? 10 through 18.
He's unmuted.
Okay, can't hear you just yet, Mr. Fairbanks. Okay, I still can't hear, sir. Give another moment here.
Try one more time.
Can you speak now, Mr. Fairbanks? We have you unmuted. Okay, still nothing. I apologize for that, sir. So with that, there are no items pulled from the consent calendar. I'll read them all for council vote. So item 10 is receiving and filing the mayor's monthly report for May 2021. 11 is receiving and filing the report of the mayor relative to the appointment of standing committees for 2021. Item 12 is receiving and filing the resignation of Willie Barney as a member of the Human Rights Commission effective June 15th, 2021. Item 13 is approving recommendation. Yes.
I got a text from Mr. Fairbanks for number 14,
excellent.
if that's allowed.
You would like to pull which item? 13?
It says number 14.
14, okay. Excellent, thanks for doing that. So item 14, which is good, I've not got there yet. 13 was approving recommendations of the mayor relative to appointment of members to boards and commissions. Item 15 was receiving and filing a communication from the Civil Service Commission relative to a certified list for the position of public safety officer. Item 16 is receiving and filing departmental monthly reports of April 2021. And then 17 is approving applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, vapor permits. And 18 is approving applications for beer permits and liquor licenses. Is there a motion to approve these items minus 14?
So moved.
Second.
So motion and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, going back to 14, hopefully we won't have to have a text conversation with Mr. Fairbanks. That's item 14, receiving and filing the Committee of the Whole minutes of May 17th, 2021, relative to the following item: downtown zoning ordinance and recreation update. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Mr. Fairbanks, are you with us yet, sir? Got you unmuted. Okay, so still unable to connect. That's Councilmember Cruz. Okay, so I'll have to, we'll wait. If you can speak, Mr. Fairbanks, we'd love to have you join in. Does anyone from council have anything to speak on this item, 14? Okay, so it's been motioned and seconded. Last call for Mr. Fairbanks. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that does pass and takes us over to the resolution calendar. The following items will be acted upon by a roll call vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Does any council member request to pull an item 19 through 43?
26.
Item 26. Okay. Others? Does anyone from the public wish to pull an item 19 through 43? Seeing none in the gallery?
Nothing in Zoom.
Okay. So I will read the others, hopefully fairly quickly, and then take us to 26. So item 19 is a resolution levying a final assessment for costs incurred by the city to remove snow and ice from the property located at 1122 West 22nd Street. 20 is the same for 2413 Olive Street. 21 is the same for 804 West Searly Boulevard. 22 is the same for 818 West Searly Boulevard. 23 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an easement agreement in conjunction with a sidewalk cafe at 419 Main Street. 24 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a service product agreement with Wex Health for Cobra Administrative Services. 25 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of renewal of the city's long-term disability policy. 27 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of agreement of the support for the Cedar Falls Community Theater relative to the FY22 Community Betterment Grants. 28 is the same for the Cedar Falls Historical Society. 29 is the same for the College Hill Partnership. And 30 is the same for the University of Northern Iowa Gallagher Blue Dorn. 31 is the same for the Robert Hibbs Cedar Falls VFW Post 3896 Gold Star Family Memorial. 32 is the same for Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony. And 33 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a product service agreement with ePrep Solutions for a comprehensive financial analysis of recreation and community programs. 34 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a service agreement with Bear Creek Archaeology for the IEDA Certified Site Program. 35 is a resolution approving College Hill Neighborhood Overlay Zoning District Site Plan for facade improvements at 2125 College Street. 36 is a resolution approving and accepting an ingress and egress agreement relative to 302 Main Street and 123 East 3rd Street properties. 37 is a resolution approving the Blaine's Corner Second Edition Minor Subdivision Plat. 38 is a resolution approving Highway 1 Zoning District Site Plan for construction of a grocery store at 315 Brandon Lynn Boulevard. 39 is a resolution approving and authorizing expenditure of funds for the purchase of an end loader for the Public Works Department. 40 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a lease agreement with the County Solid Waste Management Commission for property owned at 1500 Bluff Street. 41 is a resolution approving the certificate of completion and accepting the work of Boulder Contracting for the 2020 street patching project. 42 is a resolution that receiving and filing bids, approving and accepting the low bid of Peterson Contractors in the amount of $6.5 million for the Cedar Heights Drive reconstruction project. And 43 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of Supplemental Agreement 3 to the Professional Service Agreement with Snyder and Associates for the Cedar Heights Reconstructive Project. Is there a motion to approve these items minus 26?
So moved.
Been motioned and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That takes us back to 26, which is a resolution approving a proposal for facilitation services and authorizing execution of a contract with Iowa State University Extension relative to the Racial Equity Task Force. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A motion and seconded and open for council discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I pulled this as the chair of the task force. I just wanted to give a bit of an update. I know the request is to hire a facilitator for our group. I regret as the chairperson, I'm not necessarily good at keeping us on task. So anyway, we've had 3 really good meetings with our group, and despite being on Zoom and being a group of strangers, I really feel like we've gotten a lot accomplished, and we've reached a consensus on 6 areas that we feel the city of Cedar Falls has some influence over. areas of education, policing, housing, transportation, economy and business, and healthcare. Our concern with all of these areas is that each one of them has multiple issues and potential actions. And with October as an upcoming deadline, we all kind of have concern about coming up with actionable outcomes and with a facilitator, someone trained to keep us on task and ask the right questions, we feel that we can accomplish that goal by October. And at our last meeting, the task force unanimously supported the idea. And now that we've gotten this far, the last thing that I want this to become is a list of items that we admire. Rather, I want them to be the beginning of building a foundation to make Cedar Falls a more equitable place and allow the individuals who spoke tonight to feel better about us celebrating Juneteenth with them. So I just wanted to explain a little bit why we were making this request.
Thank you, Councilmember Dara. And I'll note too, I brought this forward on the council agenda because I appreciate the work that Tony Babcock has put into this extensive, exceptional amount of work, but it's not her job description. She's doing this as a plus on top of everything else she's responsible for. And so I'm very comfortable having a facilitator that we've used several times for council goal setting sessions. They're comfortable with us, we're comfortable with them, and they've done fantastic work for us already on other city projects. So I'm very happy to have that sort of dedicated focus from a group of people to move this forward because we can't afford to get it wrong.
And thanks for noting, Tony. We would not be here without Tony keeping us moving forward, so thanks a lot.
So on behalf of the City Council, yay, Tony.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Me. I'm probably going to echo some of what Frank says, or Councilman Dara says. This is a huge issue with deep-rooted systemic problems. The conversations are big, and it is easy to get to lose focus on what the goal is. Maybe not lose focus of what the goal is, but it would help to have somebody keep us on task so we get to this end goal of getting you a report by October 1st. So that, in my opinion, the end goal ultimately, and I don't know that they will reach this by October 1st, but is to ensure a safe and equitable community for all folks to live, work, and play in Cedar Falls. This conversation will continue to affect generations to come, and on the city level, it starts with this council, and I think we should all be proud of that. We not only have a moral obligation to put our best effort forward and to utilize all tools available with hope that this facilitator will be one of them. But everybody always thinks, unfortunately, even with this issue, money-wise, it shows as we bridge the gap, is what they call it. There are economic gains associated with that. When you lessen and ultimately eliminate disparities and opportunity differentials, this can translate into meaningful increase in consumer spending. Basically, when we thrive, we all benefit. When we all thrive, we all benefit. So please consider approving this.
Thank you, Councilmember Dunn. Any other comments from Council?
Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Miller.
I just want to commend you both, as well as Ms. Babcock, for sitting in and having the hard conversations. And clearly, there's passionate people on both sides of this conversation, and I think it's a monumental discussion for us to be having in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and I really appreciate you sitting in there and leading the way with it.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? And any from the public? Okay, seeing none. Then it's been motioned and seconded and requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that brings us over, or just to say, for the proposal facilitation services, the next part of that will be bringing them on board and participating in future meetings. So with that, that takes us over to item 44, which is allowing bills and claims of June 7th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Motioned and seconded. Any council discussion? Public discussion? Seeing none? Okay, so a motion and second, and it requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any council referrals tonight? Seeing none. Do we have any council updates? Also none. So, Mr. Gaines, do you have staff updates for us tonight?
The only update that I have this evening, Mayor, is the Cedar Falls Public Library and that CIP project. Finished a little bit early, so they did open today. So just kind of a real brief update.
Okay, thank you. So go visit your local public library. Now that we are at executive session to evaluate the performance of the city administrator pursuant to Iowa Code Section 2151I. So is there a motion to move us to executive session?
So moved.
The motion and seconded, and this requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So with that, I think this is the first time we've done this where we've not had public forum after. So what this would mean is the meeting itself still will be in session, but it'll be executive. And that'll be, I believe, here in the council chambers. What did we settle on? Oh, in the council, in the mayor's conference room. So we'll adjourn, or we'll move back into the conference room. You are dismissed for tonight unless you just want to sit in here and wait for us to come back and adjourn. That's not a fun way to spend the night. But I thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
And we'll be ending the Zoom meeting too, correct?
We are...